Welcome back, everyone. We're here with another Q&A and to answer a lot of your questions. And we're going to try to get through as many as possible. Anything that I say is not meant to replace medical care. We're going to talk about foods and all sorts of things, everything keto and intermittent fasting. So let's just dive right in, Steve, and let's take some questions or social media or whatever you would like to do.
All right, well, let's go to social media first this time. We kind of mix it up. And Scott writes in from YouTube, what are your thoughts about products that are full of ketones?
Well, there are products that, like, you have things that convert to ketones, like MCT oil. You actually have products that are ketones that you can take. There's an expensive version and a cheaper version of that. I've tried them both. I think they might have some value if you are doing maybe some competitive type exercise and you want some extra energy. But I haven't seen a really big boost in really anything special other than maybe a little more mental energy. But let's say, for example, you have Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or dementia. Well, then you should take them, because that would give you a little bit of an advantage, because in the process of having the selection of glucose or ketones, if you put the ketones in the bloodstream, the brain will selectively want the ketones first. So that'll feed that brain and bypass damaged neurons that might be trying to get fuel but can't because they're damaged.
I did not know that. All right, still from YouTube, Lexus, how can one naturally get rid of excess uric acid?
Well, I think there's several remedies for that. I've done a video on that. So I'm guessing you're probably talking about maybe some gout issues where you have uric acid, or maybe even uric acid kidney stones. So I think the best thing to avoid is the fructose. That's like the big one that is a no-no. There's been some idea of like lowering game meat or lowering your meats, but that's conflicting. I found that a lot of carnivores get rid of their gout when they go on carnivore diet. So I think too, when you start cutting out sugars, your uric acid levels go down. There's some real interesting data about uric acid that you could watch my video on that. It's actually an antioxidant, believe it or not, in your blood. So when people start keto, sometimes the uric acid does go up temporarily. It's not a bad thing, but it's probably acting as an antioxidant. But then it comes back down, especially when they're fasting. So, but I would watch the video for the complete data on that topic.
All right, very good. And get ready for this one, Dr. Berg. Georgiana's a little earthy. Sometimes when I spit, I see teeny cream-colored round things. Are they some kind of stones?
I have no idea. Maybe, I mean, there are things that are called tonsil stones. I mean, could be some type of infection. I don't know. I'd have to get more information, but I need more data to evaluate that, because it's like, do you have swollen tonsils? Have you just been through an infection? Like, I don't know. Sorry.
That's right. Maybe a little more detail, Georgiana. Maybe we'll get back to that. Good luck with that phenomena. Randy wants to know, how many kinds of acid does the stomach have? That's interesting.
Well, it has one kind of stomach acid. It's called hydrochloric acid. Okay, that's just one acid, hydrochloric. It's all the other acids in the body are kind of secondary, but hydrochloric is the primary acid. And to make it, you need all sorts of things. You need you need potassium, you need salt, sea salt, sodium, you need various minerals, and also as we age, that goes down, so we can't digest as well as we did when we were younger. But that hydrochloric acid, if it becomes diluted somehow through certain eating things, maybe you're just doing a lot of antacids, or you're drinking alkaline water. Okay, then now we have a weakened HCl. Now the valve on the top, there's a sensor. It might not close as tight as it should. So now you got acid that comes up through that valve. That's called GERD, or acid reflux. And what do people do for that? Take an antacid, right? They lower that, and all of a sudden they feel better until the next time they eat. And then it's like weaker and weaker and weaker. So that can lead to a lot of problems. So one quick remedy for that is to take betaine hydrochloride over a period of time. It really helps digestion. It's kind of counterintuitive because you're taking an acid to get rid of an acid reflux. But if you really understand it, then it makes a lot of sense.
All right. Very good. Let's see. Gladio Tuss, whatever that is, from Rumble. What can you tell us about Shilajit and what can we do for women's health? Does that Shilajit?
What?
Shilajit. Oh, I did it again, Doc. Terry has phonetically sounded it out. Shilajit, I guess, is a condition. Ever heard of such a thing?
Is that from eating excess chili? I've never heard of it. Shilajit.
Well, audience, Dr. Berg has warned me many times. Why don't you read the question first before you dump it on me? But anyway, I didn't do that. So to make up for that, I'm going to say a good morning to all of our viewers joining us from the UK, Canada, Mexico, Iran, Uganda, Tasmania, Mozambique, Romania, the United Arab Emirates, Norway, Iraq, Poland, Spain, Pakistan, Japan, the Republic of the Congo, Portugal, Israel, Antigua, Germany, the Virgin Islands, Dubai, the Netherlands, Chile, Scotland, Peru, Eritrea, India, Sweden, South Africa, Belgium, Greece, Trinidad and Tobago, Croatia, Egypt, Italy, wow, Aruba, China, Brunei, the Dominican Republic, Palestine, Switzerland, Jordan, I already said Palestine, Australia, Algeria, Barbados, wow, Morocco, Ethiopia, Finland, New Zealand, Bulgaria, Ireland, Austria, Tanzania, Denmark, Turkey, Oman, good gracious, Jamaica, Argentina, Nepal, Greece, and all across these United States. Whew, nice job, Terry. And let's see, why don't we go to one more question, then we're going to put up our first question of the day. And let's see, how about right here? Joyce from YouTube. I'm doing intermittent fasting and longer fasts at the age of 57 and still have mucus drainage issues all day long. I do have nose polyps and hypothyroidism. Wow, we're really getting into specifics here today. How can I stop this endless flow of mucus?
Yeah, it sounds like there's like this infection, and this can happen if you had some type of earlier infection in your sinuses, and even like have that treated, especially with people that have like nasal type surgery, where they kind of take out some of this mucous membrane. You lose the probiotic, the good bacteria in your sinuses. Now you have this problem with this infection. So if we take away any type of seasonal allergy, a lot of people have like year-round fungal infections in their sinuses. So what can you do to stop that? You can treat it and kill off these microbes, but they come back. So I think a better approach would be to try some probiotics for your nasal passages. And I've done videos on this too. You do not do this straight right from the jar, but if you dilute a couple drops of kimchi juice, apparently there's some interesting properties in there, and do a nasal kind of irrigation that can maybe put some of that microbe back in there. There's certain products you can buy as well related to that, but I think I would add a probiotic to your sinuses to help counter this post-nasal thing, which usually comes from a chronic fungal thing. In addition to that, of course, I hope you're on the keto and no sugar, because that feeds the fungus and the yeast and the mold and all that. And then also there's several nasal cleanses that you can do with salt water and various things to put in there. But you want to keep that probiotic. And then also you want to take certain things that will indirectly help, like garlic, onion, stuff like that. Those are natural antibiotics.
Wow. Well, sugar doesn't seem to serve us very well, does it? Okay, here's our first question of the day, Doc.
Okay. What is causing the rise in fatty liver disease in children? One out of 10 children have a fatty liver. What is behind that?
Yes. Goodness. All right, leap on it, audience. I know you'll know the answer. Let's see. Why don't we go to our green room? And Julie from San Diego was the first one to click on this morning. So we're going to bring her up first. Julie, let me find your little square. And you are on with Dr. Berg. Oops, you're muted, Julie. If you can unmute yourself.
Dr. Berg, thank you. Thank you for your wealth of information. Thank you for making space for me. I was diagnosed with osteoporosis in my spine 3 years ago. And at the time I did a hair analysis and it came back very high in calcium, magnesium, sodium, and strontium. I haven't done any retesting since. I'm committed to the D3 K2 of yours. I'm on other supplements. I do weight training. I'm conscious of my eating, my stress, my spiritual work. But I started to wonder whether or not there were any other supplements, if I should take like a separate, maybe vitamin K2 or something, because clearly I have things in my body, but they're not going into, things aren't going into the bones. So
okay, two questions. What's your age?
I am 59.
Wow, you do not look 59. Okay, so would you say this is kind of like a menopausal shift thing that just happened right during that menopausal time period, possibly?
I think so. I truly believe somewhere that it has something to do with my teenage years and whatever the bones didn't get. I don't feel like it makes sense for now and how I live.
Okay. And are you absolutely 100% sure that test was true? Like, was that a really credible test that you had done? And it was like, yeah, you have osteopenia or osteoporosis?
I was originally, I think maybe 6 years ago was osteopenia. 3 years ago was osteoporosis. And I've never done a DEXA scan since because I don't know that I totally believe that I think I learned it through you or something. I think that there's a way that it doesn't necessarily tell me how strong my bones are. And I'm really a strong woman. So there's a way that I don't want to buy into any of this too much, but I want to be proactive.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can't tell you how many times someone's trying to solve a problem when they don't really have a problem. Somehow it's like it wasn't the right test and they just are on this mission. So anyway, let's just pretend that there is a weakness in that area. You're doing the right thing with the vitamin D and the K2, and you probably want to take a little more K2 on the side. You want to take MK7 because the MK4 is a very short shelf life, and when you buy it, it's nearly always synthetic because to make it, even though MK4 version is a natural version, they don't make it because it's too expensive, so they make this synthetic version. So do the MK7 version and just take some extra for the bone. The other really important thing is a good amount of trace minerals would be really good. So you just take the trace minerals that have the zinc and the different things in there. I'm not biased of the one I have, but it's pretty complete. So that's the act. That's what was that?
I actually do have yours, but the K7, MK7, I'm not as clear about, but I do have your trace minerals.
Okay, take 4 of those. Okay. And then the other thing is that so that's all the activators. So Steve, I'm getting an echo again. I think. Okay. So I think what happens, all the trace minerals will activate some of the protein molecules that make the bone solid. But during menopause, what happens, there's this allocation, not that this is happening, but there's an allocation more to cortisol or adrenal hormones. And because now we don't have the ovarian hormones. So there's a shift with all the sex hormones, including estrogen. So what happens is like, it's very common, it's more common than it should be for any postmenopausal woman to now manifest more of a bone loss because of the loss of hormones. So there's a couple of things that you want to look at. One is, do you have enough cholesterol in the diet? That's the precursor for vitamin D and all the sex hormones, including cortisol and estrogen too. So you need a good amount of cholesterol. So I always recommend get some organic cultured raw butter from Europe, like a high quality butter, Doesn't have to be always cultured, but that's the best. And then consume a little bit of that each day, because that has in it K2. It has in it great vitamin A, and it has wonderful cholesterol to actually give you the raw material. And that solves a lot of issues just for some butter. The other thing is that DHEA is like another supplement that a lot of women take that can help act as a precursor, especially after postmenopause. Just make sure that you don't take more than what it says on the bottle, because you don't want to get excessive amount of testosterone, for example. Like a man would want to take a little more, but you just want to take what's on the bottle there. So those are just some things off the top of my head to help make your bones solid. And I'm sure you're exercising because you look pretty fit, and that's going to also help. And then let's say you do all those things, right? And you want to take it to the next level. There is a test, and I'm going to be talking about this probably 3 weeks from now. It's called a metabolomic test. It is the best exam that you can get if you can find a really good evaluator, which I know someone, which I'm going to talk about. I interviewed him. He's a medical doctor who specializes in metabolomic testing. And that goes right into your biochemistry and evaluates all these different pathways. And we could, see exactly what's happening deep inside, and just to make sure everything is good. So stay tuned for that, because that's going to be pretty exciting.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much.
You're
all
welcome.
Right. Julie, thanks for being a great contestant, if that's what you all are. By the way, Julie, the question of whether you have it or not, I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, and that's an understatement, but I was wheezing while I was running, so I went to a pulmonologist, and they gave me this breathing test where you blast into this tube. And I don't know, 3 or 4 days later, a staff member called and said, oh, here, we have your results. You have COPD. Have a nice day. And for 6 months, I started planning my demise and wanted to know exactly how horrible that was going to be. And in a follow-up visit with the actual pulmonologist, she said, how do you feel? I said, well, I'm fine. And she put a little blood monitor or blood oxygen monitor on my finger and said, walk around the hallway with me a couple of times. She goes, I'm sorry, you don't have COPD. I can kind of see what they did on this test. But it was horrifying, facing that. And so I guess second opinions, right? Or, who knows? But
hey, Steve, I just have to just say one last story. So there was I think this was actually in a book I read. So they were talking about the power of suggestion, just getting diagnosed. And so apparently there was this person who got diagnosed with cancer, right? And they started getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and they eventually died. And they opened them up in the autopsy, and they found, that was a false diagnosis. You never had cancer.
Boy, the power of suggestion, huh?
Well, it's interesting how if someone says you have 3 months to live, like all of a sudden it's like right on the dot. Like, so anyway, it's you need someone, a doctor that is not negative, who gives you other solutions, that is, that's very open, listening to you, good communicator, versus some of these docs are just like completely, they get offended if you want to get a second opinion.
Yeah, well, be offended. Okay, so the first question of the day asked, what is causing the rise in fatty liver in children? That is certainly alarming. And 100% of our respondents say it's caused by excess sugars and other fructose corn syrup, maltodextrin, etc. Are they right?
Yeah, they are right, because I'm going to do a series of videos on this topic. I didn't know this, but 67% of all the children's calories are from ultra-processed food. Ultra-processed food. This is food that doesn't resemble the original food, and it's AKA junk food. And cereals at the top of the list, sweetened cereals, and the amount of sugars in there, especially the whole grain healthy cereals. So I'll be talking about that real soon. But these kids, fatty liver, incredible. At a young age. Incredible.
What a terrible way to start things off in life. Okay, here's our second question, this one being a true-falser.
Okay, true or false? According to the Cereals and Grain Association, which on the website they have a trusted organization. Whole grains are a vital part of a balanced diet. Is that true or false?
All right, folks, dig into that. Let's go back to social media. KM Witt from Facebook. I have started having a vibrating pulse of my foot behind my toes. What could be causing this? Tingling, I guess, or something.
Well, that just sounds neurological to me. I think the best thing I would do is start taking benfotiamine and make sure you get off any high carbs, because that could be, that's what happens when you have prediabetes and even insulin resistance. You could have neurological stuff that goes in the peripheral part of the foot. There is another situation that could potentially cause peripheral neuropathy as well, and that is called hypercalcemia. And that's going to be more rare, but that's another factor. If you're having too much calcium in the blood, that can create a similar problem with the nerves, that can mimic even diabetes too, because sometimes another symptom would be like excessive thirst and peeing frequently. But again, it's not the common thing, but it is something you have to know.
All right, KM, good luck with that. Let's see. Sadow from Rumble, I have a question about the carnivore diet because I have Crohn's disease, but it's hard to find grass-fed meats in my area. Will other kinds of meats help me get rid of this condition? Good question.
Yeah. I think if you can't find it, something's better than nothing. And I would definitely get off the fiber and all the other stuff and just do the meat. Eggs, you can do eggs, fish, organ meats, things like that. That's, I think, if I had a choice, I would go with that route, whatever you can get. Absolutely. It's not the best, but it's something to do.
All right,
and then also do fasting. So you can then cut down on the amount of food as well, because your body's conserving things, and then maybe invest more in the quality. And so you could maybe order online, like US Wellness Meats and other places you can get grass-fed, grass-finished meats, or the farmer's market, if you could find one.
All right, terrific. Well, Anne has had some drama. She's from Facebook. I've been through brain surgery to remove a tumor, but now I'm suffering from brain fog all day long. I'm taking magnesium and some B vitamins. How can I clear this up?
You have to find my video on head trauma. There's a great a technique that I'd recommend. But in addition to that, you need to get on ketones, probably take some MCT oil to feed the brain to help heal it. Do exercise, intermittent like high intensity interval training with exercise that'll help your brain. And the other thing is there's a standard process product that I would recommend called, I'm not affiliated with the company anymore, but it's called Neurotrophin PMG. Neurotrophin PMG. It's good to take after you had damage to the nervous system, including the brain, and you just take one before bed for probably about 3 months.
All right, very good. Well, Margie on Facebook just wanted to explain to us what Shilajit is. It's a black resin. It contains fulvic acid and other minerals and is known to help with low testosterone levels. It's found in the Himalaya mountains, so that's not your 7-Eleven next door. But anyway, so learn something new every day.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I don't know too much about it, but I think that sounds very interesting. I try it out, see if it helps you.
All right, very good. Well, the audience has helped us by answering the second question, which asks, true, false, according to the Cereal and Grains Association, whole grains are a vital part of a balanced diet. And let me get rid of that. And let's see. Oh, there it is. Answer. Everyone is correct. It's 100%. Yes, it's on the website, and no grains are not part of a healthy diet.
This is some interesting kind of angle that they promote it, because if they say, if we add something healthy to something unhealthy, then it makes it healthy. The problem is when you combine a carb with a protein. I'm talking about sugar or refined carb, or even whole grains with a protein, especially if there's sugars in the cereal and things like that, or sugar with a fat And that could be also some of the oils that they use, like corn oil, cottonseed oil. You create this thing called glycation, that you're bonding a sugar with a protein or a fat. That accumulates and eventually leads to something called AGEs, which stands for advanced glycated end products. And those create inflammation. And that's part of the disease process. It creates all sorts of problems. So adding something, even if it is healthy, which I don't think it is, to something unhealthy, who eats whole grains by itself? They put that in cereal. They put it in different things. So the other thing about that is you have gluten. Gluten really is like, it's the only protein that we can't digest. And so you say, well, I'm going to have gluten-free. Okay, then now you're having refined carbs. There's actually not as much fiber in grains as you might think. It's not a high fiber. There's way more fiber in vegetables and even fruit, berries, things like that. But so anyway, I think there's definitely a push to eat grains. But I tell you, I used to live on grains, bread, pasta all the time. And it wasn't until I gave that up till my health started recovering. So, just try it and see if you feel better.
Oh, very good. Grape nuts, I wonder about them. They taste awful enough to make you imagine they're good for you, but probably not. So let's see here. Wow.
Yeah, well, I would just read the ingredients, and because they add a lot of like rice syrup to the granolas and all the extra sugar. It's like a little too much for me, Steve.
All right, very good. Well, why don't we bring Tasha in? Tasha is from Orlando, a place I've been many times. She's unmuting herself now, and she's going to ask you one question in 30 seconds. Go, Tasha.
Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hello.
I just want to thank you, first of all, for all of your wisdom that you share. I've been a huge fan since 2016. So
Great.
I have a question because the last year it's been really tough for me to get back into keto. I've gone in and out for several years, but this last year, getting in has been really difficult, and I've been considering taking Ozempic to curb the cravings because that's my largest hurdle when it comes to going into ketosis. Once I start craving sugar and other things, I can't curb it. So
I got it. Thanks for telling me. I'm doing another video on Ozempic and some of the other ones out there, which are real popular right now. But I also, on the same side, I want to mention something about that because it comes with a package. Like I know one person reached out to me, and from that they developed all sorts of endocrine problems. So it's not a long-term solution. It doesn't come without side effects, especially to your thyroid. So I think another idea would be to, especially if you mention cravings, just do two things. One is to start making some of these keto desserts and just have that to your go-to food, to have that in the house as a dessert. That way, at least you're not getting the sugar. There's some great recipes we have on the site. You can do that. So that way you can have your sweet things. The other thing is that you should sign up for my keto lab. There's 295,000 people in that lab, and it's on Facebook, and it's a private group. And then you get a lot of support because that's what you need. You need these people going through the same things, and you need someone to do it with you. And I'm going to start doing a lot of live Q&As on there, so you can stay connected. And then also on my website, I'll be doing Q&As as well. So I think we can get you through this and give you all sorts of strategies. Because I will tell you this, I finally got myself in a place where I don't crave anything anymore. And even when I'll even try to eat something sweet, it's like it's not doing it for me. It's like because my body's like really in hardcore ketosis and I'm not even hungry. And when you get to that point, it's like it's so much easier. But I understand getting to that point, right? It's like takes a while. So I think we're just going to keep encouraging you to tweak things until you can do it. I think you need a little bit more support, and we can be there for you.
Thank you. I'll be there.
Okay, great.
Okay, great call. Thank you so much, Tasha. Enjoy Disney and all the things to do. Universal down your way. All right, let's see. Let's go to Rose from Facebook. Please share your recommendations to reduce or heal a pancreatic cyst. Thanks.
Well, the thing that comes to mind is the TUDCA is apparently it's really good for excuse me, like inflammation of the pancreas, which can take the stress off the pancreas because it opens up the bile ducts and also the ducts that cross over to the pancreatic duct area. So that can help as well. And I would do omega-3 fatty acids from cod liver oil. I would, I don't know. I would need to get a history of like what could be behind this to really figure this out. But one thing that could benefit is the Splenda process has something called pancreatrophin PMG. Take one of those before bed. Excuse me. That can help you with any type of damage or stress or even assist to an organ. Splenda process has these interesting combinations of things that support different organs. So pancreatrophin PMG would be one that I would take right before bed.
Okay, very good. Let's go to our next question, a true-falser. And there it is, Doc.
Okay, true or false? Zinc is required for vitamin D to function in the body.
What of your supplements is zinc in, or do you have a zinc supplement itself?
It's trace minerals.
Trace minerals. All right, good to know. All right, so dig into that, and let's go to Lovey from Rumble. How many cups of microgreens could replace your recommended 7 cups of veggies? I'm on OMAD and clean keto and feeling great at 59. Or did I read? Yeah, it is 59. Good for Lovey.
The peak of nutrition is in the microgreens, roughly between like 7 and 10 days. The cycle of this plant. There's a lot of not just vitamin increase, but the phytonutrients are really high. Sometimes 10 to 50 times higher than an adult vegetable. So I like microgreens. A lot of drug companies are studying microgreens, their phytonutrients to create different effects so they can, somehow patent it to a drug or make a synthetic version of it. Be nice if they can. I would be totally okay if they did something that gave no side effects and did an actual natural thing, even if they patent it, because that way people could not have the side effects. But as far as how much, I know it's going to be less. So you're talking probably maybe two or 3 cups of microgreens a day would give you a lot. I mean, that would give you a tremendous amount of nutrition. And also we're doing research right now on microgreens and just one molecule called sulforaphane. And we're finding some really interesting information when we send it to the lab. We're going to now look at all the different phytonutrients in these microgreens. It's going to be interesting. So we're going to share that on another YouTube channel soon and share some of the experiments. And also we put together a course so you can grow your own microgreens right in your house. But that way you can have less of it and get more benefits from all the phytonutrients.
All right, Ken B from Rumble, can you discuss, sounds like he's trying to cheat, how the keto diet will be impacted by consuming fermented oatmeal?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I do know when you ferment, it does tend to make things easier to digest, and it may lower some of the carbohydrate in that product. But that being said, I don't have any other data. I don't know.
All right, very good. Let's go back to our green room where Tatiana from Minneapolis is waiting patiently. Let me bring her, and I can see her wrestling the controls to get rid of her muting. Go ahead, Tatiana, with your question.
Hi, Dr. Berg. Nice
Hello.
to meet you. I have a question. So I was diagnosed with fibrocystic breast about 6 years ago, and then I developed 2 fibrinomas in the same area. I watched some of your videos that you recommended taking kelp, So I've been taking that for more than several months now, but I haven't seen any change. Should I be increasing that amount or taking something else added to it?
So what's interesting is one of the first symptoms of an iodine deficiency is breast tenderness. And also another symptom is fibrocystic breast and what's really happening is it might not even be an iodine deficiency per se. It's an excess of estrogen. So we want to look at your estrogen. What are you doing to increase the estrogen? Now, maybe you're going to have to avoid dairy. Okay, that can be one thing, all forms of dairy. The other thing is to start consuming cruciferous vegetables, which will help to balance your estrogens. And then you may want to increase your C-calp a little bit more as well. I think all of those together will help you. Also, don't, what am I saying? Don't forget. I don't even know if you know this, but there are certain things in our environment, including chemicals and plastics in our foods that mimic estrogen. You got to get really clean. I don't know what you're eating, but that's another factor I would look at as well.
Okay. How much, what's the highest that I can go with kelp, with the amount?
I think each kelp is different. So you want to look at the dosage on the label for iodine, okay? And then
I'm taking one of your
okay.
kelp.
So I lowered my iodine just to keep it on the low side. So I think I've done a video on this and I don't remember the exact amounts because it's been a long time. But if you look at just start searching the amount of iodine that someone from Japan, women in Japan consume on a regular basis, and maybe use that as a reference because they have very low risk of getting fibrocystic breasts, including breast cancer and all that, because they eat a lot of seaweed. So, and then kind of get an idea on how much you should try.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ray.
You're welcome.
Tatiana, thanks for coming on with us, and always love to hear back from people on the air about how they are moving forward with a healthy life. Okay, let's go to, let's see, how about if we answer another question, which they have done, and that was quiz question number 3, which asks, true, false, zinc is required for vitamin D to function in the body. And 97% of our respondents say it's true, and 3% are holding out for a false.
Well, actually, the vitamin D receptor that allows the activation of vitamin D to work is dependent on zinc and magnesium. By the way, I did a video on that. So yes, we need zinc. And what's interesting is that you have all these people that are deficient in vitamin D, right? It could be because one reason could be because you're low in zinc. How could you be low in zinc? Well, you don't consume shellfish, maybe because you're vegetarian or vegan. You don't consume meat. Meat has a really good source of zinc. You don't consume sea kelp, of course. So, and also you have a lot of cereal, which has the phytic acid, which blocks the zinc. Stress blocks zinc. Refined sugars deplete zinc. Cadmium blocks zinc. How do we consume cadmium? From our cigarette smokes. So there's all these things that you have to look at to make sure your vitamin D works. I will be releasing a video on the topic shortly.
Okay, I stepped over a question here, and Terry, the typo is mine. You're not responsible for that. So Doc, if you can read that with a little glitch.
Okay. What is another name for bioengineered ingredients when it's on a food label?
I dig into that, folks. And let's see. Okay, Teresa from Facebook, what's the best way to maintain healthy kidneys and liver and avoid stones? Ouch.
That's more than one question. That's a lot of, so you have obviously what destroys the kidney. The most common is diabetes. And if you look at what causes diabetes, it's a lot of processed carbs. So of course, avoid carbs, get on healthy keto, and then intermittent fasting, which is going to help your liver and your kidney. But of course, stones, kidney stones, avoid oxalates and drink about 2 ounces of lemon juice a day. Lemon juice. It contains citrates, and it can help interfere with the oxalates. But when you avoid oxalates, that would be avoiding spinach and almonds and chocolate, unless you have, some calcium with it, like some cheese with your spinach or cheese with your almond butter or almond flour, because in keto, those are some go-to foods that people eat a lot of. And of course, even sugar-free chocolate has oxalates. So you just have to look at all these factors.
All right, very good. Getsema from YouTube. Why do I get so angry during my periods? How can I reduce these emotional spikes? Listen up, Lori. No, Lori and I are well past that. So how can we help her?
Couple things. I have quite a few videos, and I just released one on menstrual cramps in general. But I wouldn't treat it as a symptom. I would directly and just think that's going to solve it. I would really look at like what in your lifestyle, what diet do you need to be on? And I would recommend the one I recommend on my site. You can download it and get on a healthy version of keto. That should help. And then the other couple things that I would recommend is a standard process product called Overtrophin PMG. Boy, I'm really recommending that company a lot. I'm not getting any kickbacks, by the way. I don't even use those products anymore because I'm not in practice. But that's Overtrophin PMG is one that I used to use in practice, and especially around the period. If you're getting these moodiness issues with cramping, then you need magnesium and a little calcium before the period, okay, and right through it. And then also the other thing that I would recommend is more B1 during the period. Anyone who's angry or irritable, give them some B1 nutritional yeast. Within 3 minutes, they'll be really nice and calm.
Isn't that wonderful? Well, speaking of calm, let's see. Don from YouTube. Let's see. Let's go up to Edward. I've looked over him. He's from YouTube as well. What are your thoughts about adding mushroom coffee to our diets? You ever heard of that?
Yeah, I like that. I think there's so many amazing benefits to these mushrooms for the cognitive, anti-cancer, for your immune system. And there's these new coffee substitutes, which I like out of mushroom. I think that's a smart idea, and you should try it out. If you can do that, I think it'd be awesome, especially for all the properties that it does. These mushrooms are they're not a vegetable. They're not an animal. They're just something in between. They're wild. I mean, they're just amazing. They've been around for a very long time, and they have all sorts of strategies of survival and helping people in so many ways. On the flip side, they have so many ways of killing people. Poisonous mushrooms that you have to be careful. And if you ever consume a poisonous mushroom and you're out in the woods, look around for milk thistle weed and start chewing on the seeds immediately, and that will be the antidote.
Okay, keep that in mind, hikers. All right, Lady Trucker Toes from Rumble. I think we've actually heard from her before. What's the best way to improve, who forgets a name like that? What's the best way to improve hormonal support for someone who's had a total hysterectomy?
I would probably be taking DHEA. Make sure you consume enough of the cholesterol. I like butter, high quality butter, European butter. Cultured butter is the best. Cultured butter is it's a fermented butter, and I'm like taking a chunk of that every day. I'm like out of the refrigerator. It's so delicious, and it's a probiotic, and it has vitamin K2 and vitamin A, retinol, and many other things. Excuse me. So that's what I would do, and the other thing is what's happening is your adrenals are going to back up that hysterectomy, that total, things are gone. But that's one thing I would do. And I also have a video on it for more data, but I think that would be the quick answer.
Okay, very good. Well, quiz question number 4. And by the way, Annabelle, I haven't forgotten about you. We're going to get to you right after we answer this typo-filled question. And it asks, what is another name for bioengineered ingredients when it is on a food label? And the audience, 68% of our respondents say it's MO, monosodium, or MO, oh, GMO, excuse me, Terry. 20% say natural flavors and 12% say it's hydrogenated.
Wow. I'm glad that the most people knew this, because it's on all this, like a lot of the cereals. It's AKA, it means genetically modified foods. Okay. Genetically modified. So this is industry's way of being transparent. We're going to tell you this GMOs, but we're going to change the name so you don't really know what it is. That's really what happened, because they didn't want to put on the labels directly because people wouldn't eat it. Well, guess what? It's on the, I think it's voluntary, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, bioenergy and I mean, if you take a look at how many ingredients in a given cereal, it's GMO or sprayed with glyphosate, which is Roundup Ready. Let's go through the list, if I remember. Okay, corn, soluble corn fiber, high fructose corn syrup, maltodextrin, a modified food starch, which is corn. Maltodextrin is corn too. I mean, it's like it goes on and on and on. Wheat flour, which actually is sprayed with glyphosate. Even oats is sprayed unless it says it's organic. So there's just a lot of ingredients in these cereals that are genetically modified or sprayed with this glyphosate. So you might want to change what you feed your kids. Give them some eggs and bacon, and I think they'll do much better.
All right, very good. Well, Annabelle, if you're unmuted, you are on with Dr. Berg.
Hi, Dr. Berg. I'm Annabelle. I'm a huge fan. So I'm from France, and I'm a naturopath. Sorry for my English. I had a case with a client that it was weird with vitamin D3. Maybe you can help me with it. So she was deficient in vitamin D3. There was no signs of magnesium problem. She was sleeping well, and she took D3 keto 2000 IU for like 3 days, and she ended with insomnia. So as we know, D3 helps to enhance melatonin. So it's vitamin, it's a hormone to help sleeping. But in this case, it was the contrary. So I don't really understand apart magnesium pathway. I don't know if you know another pathway for disturbing sleeping with D3 in just 1 day. That was weird. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. What part of France are you from?
So now I'm in Saint-Pierre-et-Miquelon. It's a small island of 5,000 people nearby Canada, but I'm in the north, Normandy, so where you get fresh meat, fresh camembert, fresh cheese.
I feel so bad for you. You must be suffering. I'm being very sarcastic. I'm jealous. That's awesome, boy. Because I went to France and just talk about the quality of some of the foods there are just over the top, and people really, the farmers really care about their food. So I always try to buy cheese and goat cheese from France, and especially their butter, of course, and all the other wonderful products. But here's what I'm thinking on that. First thing is nearly, and I didn't know this until recently, the great majority of D3 products in Europe have in them glucose syrup as one of the hidden ingredients, and because I had to pay extra to keep it out of our product. So I'm just thinking maybe, okay, that's one factor. The other thing too is that, and I also recommend vitamin D before bed. But on some people, all of a sudden it just kind of wakes them right up. So the thing that I would do is I would try a couple different things. One, I'm sure it's going to be easy now that it's winter, but have them try to get their vitamin D from a different source, from the sun, maybe fatty fish, things like that, or a different brand of vitamin D3. Also, I would add a bit more zinc and some of the other cofactors like B6, and try that, and then maybe try lesser amounts. But I mean, I'll take vitamin D3 right before bed and it just helps me. But in some people, it stirs them up. The other thing is that did you have them do any tests to show they were deficient in vitamin D?
Yes, exactly. She did a blood test, and she was like below the range that we have in France. It's 13 nanogram per milliliter, and she was 16. So she was really deficient. Yeah.
Does she have any type of gut inflammation or anything going on with her intestines?
Yeah, she called me for that. By the way, that was the problem, the majority problem. She had like a beginning of a SIBO and gut inflammation. So it was just weird that in the beginning of the program, she just took one drop and couldn't sleep at night. That was really weird. Sorry.
Yeah. Because also you have the fact that she's probably not even absorbing it because of the gut inflammation. It's hard to absorb these fat-soluble vitamins, so we have that as a problem. The other thing is that I would maybe try it with food, without food. I would try that. But there's a lot of things I think you have to test one at a time. You don't want to do everything at once. You said to drop, so she's taking it in a liquid form?
Yeah, it's the same formula that you have, the D3 keto in drops.
Okay. Okay. So that's a good source. Yeah. So that's kind of an interesting. I don't think there's as many cofactors in that. So you might want to go up with the other cofactors. The other thing that I'm thinking of too, it'd be really fascinating to get a DNA test on her, because that tells you what genes, and this is common, what genes might have it's called a polymorphism with the vitamin D pathways. Is it in the conversion? Is it in the vitamin D receptor? There is something else that will activate the vitamin D receptor to get more activation of vitamin D, which is bile salts. So you can try TUDCA. TUDCA is another good one. And the last thing I'm going to mention is to try to focus more on her SIBO right now, and then come back to the vitamin D later, because you're going to have to do like the typical fasting, increase the HCl. Don't give her a lot of fiber. She might respond with maybe more carnivore right now. Because if you give her a probiotic or even fiber, it's going to stir things up, more bloating. So these are all just things I'm just thinking out loud.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, and welcome to France whenever you want.
Oh, I want to go back there. Thank you. I love it.
Thanks, Annabelle.
Bye.
That's terrific. Maybe Annabelle will help answer our last question, and here it is.
Okay, what is the best antidote for excessive worrying?
A lot of that going around, I'm sure. Okay, let's go back to Rumble. Esther Koch from Rumble. I've had 2/3 of my stomach removed. Ouch. How can I absorb minerals and vitamins as well as I used to? I don't know if that was a disease or, bypass surgery or whatever.
Yeah, that's always a problem. So you're going to have to try to get probably more liquid vitamins. You have to take more of certain vitamins. You're going to have to take things to help you digest certain nutrients. Like, for example, the fat-soluble nutrients, you can probably have to take some bile salts with that, because there could be some alteration in the bile production. Maybe enzymes as well. And then more maybe fermented foods will help, because it's easier to digest. And definitely do fasting. Definitely do low carb. But that's always a problem. You have to work around that.
Okay, very good. By the way, Doc, is there any new places? I think Canada was one of them where you could get your products easier. What's the latest on that?
Very soon, we're working on Canada right now, and India, and I think I would just keep checking to see where we are. But we have two problems. One is the shipping is crazy expensive, and then number two is the finding a place that we can get the ingredients that we want. And that's, we keep going back and through it, back and forth. Like even the electrolyte powders in other countries, they nearly always have maltodextrin. Like, no, we don't want that. We don't want glucose. We don't want this. So it's quite a interesting challenge, but we're finding the right ingredients and companies to help us.
Very good. Mark from YouTube wants to know your thoughts on Splenda as a sweetener substitute.
I'm not crazy about Splenda because it's kind of a chlorine compound. It comes from a chlorine compound. It's not on my list of things that I would ever consume. I think you'd be better off if you did xylitol or erythritol and monk fruit together, or even allulose, which is not even a sugar alcohol, but it's very similar to sugar taste-wise. And it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's 0 on the glycemic index.
All right, let's see. Karen from YouTube, what is the best dosage for someone starting to take berberine, and what's the best time to take it?
I can't really answer that because you have different things. You have the tinctures, you have extracts, you have different products that have different levels of berberine. So I would just go with what's on the label. That's what I would recommend.
All right. Tam from YouTube, what's the best way to reduce my small density lipoproteins? They are too high and the large buoyant ones are too low. Help.
That is a reflection, and this is my opinion, on too much carb, too much sugar. So I would definitely avoid that. I'm going to be releasing I had someone did a video fact checking Dr. Berg's video on that one topic, LDL. So I'm releasing a video probably next week. I'm fact checking the fact checker, which I rarely do those, but this one is interesting. So LDLs, the small density are potent factors of associated with cardiovascular risk, atherosclerotic plaquing. So you want to cut out the sugar and go low carb if you want to reduce the small, dense lipoprotein. They tend to penetrate deeper into the wall of the artery, and they also tend to hang around longer than the large buoyant. So, and they tend to oxidize more too. So it definitely is something you don't want.
All right. Well, we've got the final answers to the final question, which asks, what is the best antidote for excessive worrying? And I'm sure everyone in our audience has had a time with that. 74% of the respondents say deep breathing exercise. 15% say meditation or prayer. 10% say increase vitamin B intake. And 1% say comic books.
I agree with everyone because, yes, comic books are incredible. So laughter is incredible. If you think about what worrying is, though, worrying is not solving problems. It's thinking about problems, and you're dwelling on problems, and you're in this indecision back and forth. If you could turn that background music off, Steve, because I'm just right in the middle of trying to explain this. So you have all this back and forth thinking. It's like an indecision type thing. And I think people that are stressed, the worst thing you can do is start dwelling on the problem. So you want to be proactive, because that's the purpose of the mind, is to solve problems. But I think one thing to kind of get rid of that residue of excessive worrying, and I'm going to do a video on this, it's going to be interesting, is it's based on some hardcore research on doing art. And that could be any range of, from music to anything, or even hobbies. They take your mind off things. If you can combine that with something physical, that would be awesome, because then you're actually shifting your attention off this worrying problem type thing. So I'm going to do a video on that, because my latest hobby is woodworking, and found a guy down the street who has a woodworking shop. He showed me how to make a table. So we videoed the whole thing, and I'm going to do a video that will give you a link to that so you can check it out. But talk about a stress reducer. It's great, because you're like creating this thing and you're into it. So stay tuned for that video. On that note, have a wonderful weekend. We will see you next week, same time, same place.